Okay, so for this lesson, we are going to build a projectile class so that our player can shoot a projectile out of their body. So to do that, what we're going to do is go to Tools and New C++ class, and we're going to want Actor. We're going to hit Next, and we're going to make it called P2 Projectile. And we're going to create this class. And that's going to take a minute or two. I paused it while we were doing that. And you should end up with two windows that come up when you open up your Visual Studio. And it's going to be p2 projectile.cpp and .h. Now remember that .h means header, and that's where basically all of the prototypes or the definitions of our, or the declaration of our functions and variables are. So you can see like they add a couple for us. So what virtual means is that this is inherited, right? Because this is a class, and that means that we have children classes, and so this is a child of an actor. So the begin play, right, is the function in all of our things, the event function, that basically when play begins, whatever's in the script is going to run. And so this is saying that it's virtual, saying that we don't really have anything defined, but it's required in the parent class, and that with polymorphism and inheritance, that if you make a child of this, it's going to need something that happens when you begin play. And so that's what you're going to put here. And then this one is the tick. Again, remember with that this one's going to play every delta time. So like every tick that the game's playing. And so first what we need to do is we need to add some information in here into this header file. And we can see we have the includes. We also need to add another some things, and this is going to be class uSphere component, class static mesh component, and class uProject. uProjectile. Now what these are, they're slightly different than the include statements. Include statement says, go get all the stuff from the header. This is saying that I'm going to use a class, that there's someplace a class called uSphere component, uStatic mesh component, and uProjectile movement component out there, and I'm going to want to refer to them without having to add all the extra overhead. And it just helps speed up the time, the compile time. And the next thing we need to do is we need to add a variable down here. So we're going to use uProperty, and that's what and it's going to be visible anywhere, and it's a blueprint only, read only. And the category, and it's going to be projectile. And so this is just, we're adding a variable with this, and it is going to be tObject pointer, right? And so that's a pointer, and a pointer is only storing, it's a variable that stores the address of another item, and we're casting this to a uSphere component, and with collision sphere. And I left off a and work it. So, so what we're doing here is we're creating a variable called collision sphere that is a pointer, which means that it is going to have the address location of a type, right? That is this uSphere component, which we got up here that we added. And then we're going to have a couple more of these that we're going to do. And instead of making you watch me type, you'll see that these are in your lab assignment, but you can see them in here. So I feel like I mistyped this. So I did component. Maybe. Yeah, now it's happy. Okay. All right. So this one is, we're doing the same thing, but with the mesh component. This one is the projectile movement component. And then we're creating a couple variables here, just damage and lifespan. That's how long it's going to be living and the damage that it's going to do. So that's all we did here, right? Is like we did in the last week's where we created variables. We just created some more variables, but specifically for the projectile. And so I'm going to just make sure I save that. And now we're going to go and we need to create a private section. So I'm going to do this up here and I'm going to actually spell out private. But the way classes work in C++, if it doesn't say anything, that means that it's automatically private. So truthfully, I could just add this right here, but I'm going to add it down here just so I'm explicit. So it helps. So we're going to do U function. And so just like the U property was for a variable, U function is Unreal's way to get the function to work inside of Unreal. So with the reflective, get it in there. And so we're just going to use void on hit and U primitive component. Helps when I don't have to spell. And we're going to put an asterisk. Asterisk means that it is a pointer. And we're going to say overlapped component. So that's the first parameter. It's going to have an actor class pointer. So other actor. So if you remember, like in a blueprint, right? We have all the stuff on the right hand side that's going into it. That's all the parameters that it needs to pass in. So these are the parameters that are coming in for this. And so then you have U primitive typing is hard component component other component other. And then int 32, look, an easy one to type. Other body index. That's just saying who the other person is. Then a Boolean b from sweep. A constant f hit results. And that right, that means that we're passing in by reference, and so that means we're passing the address to this of the sweep result. So this is just setting up our header file and information with the variables we need for what we're going to be doing and the functions that we need for what we're going to be doing. And so in the next video, I will go through on how to update the implementation file.